blessing today and rejoicing with the baptism and just glad that we can gather together the way we can, and we should make the most of that. We should pursue more. And the characters that were brought out by Robert, it's encouraging when, and a goal for us to have in our own lives to be able to stand up against these enemies of ours. Yeah, when we went on this trip, I had this little thought that came to my mind because of somebody who visited, and you become what you receive to yourselves, or you become what you take up. And when we visited Kent, on the way back, we stopped with somebody that had been our neighbor back in Florence. And she's now 94 and a half years old. And she said, you have to say a half yet. And I'm not sure why that became very important, but it seemed like that half was important to her. And she's very healthy. And she had in the past said, health comes with a cost. This time she said, well, you wouldn't put dirty gas in your vehicle, would you? Why don't you put good stuff in your body? Is what she was saying. And she does other things too, like exercising, and she walks 2 miles a day. And God has granted her health. There's people that would have died a long time ago without God preserving them. But there is this fact that remains. We can only take so many chemicals, usually. Some people more, some people less, into our bodies and expect to live. There's just these boundary lines that everybody's going to have somewhere, somehow. If you absorb too much radiation, there's proof it's going to do you great harm. Some people more, some people less. That's just, I've come to believe that. Anyways, so she was saying about this fuel, we wouldn't put dirty fuel, what we eat unhealthy. My thoughts went to, what are we feeding our soul? What are we putting into our soul? Are we as careful as this old woman taking care of her health? Do we care about what we're putting into our soul? And the little topic I had in mind was what we absorb. So I was thinking like literature we read, the books we read, the things we hear. We should be careful of what we read and what we absorb, because we will become what we put into our soul. Our soul's going to become that. And it may take time, but it will. I believe that's a what is it called? Can't think of the word I want, but it's a law.
Axiom, postulate.
Well, it's like it happens. I'm not sure. It's still not the word I wanted, but God has put so many of these laws in action, physically and spiritually, and we can seek these out. So I'm just be encouraging us to think what we absorb, what we're taking in. And one area that when I first committed my life, like give my life, or give my consent at least to God, that I want to do what I want, whatever it takes. I want to do it. I don't care the cost. I still want to keep that, but I started buying all kinds of books, trying to find what might be the truth, or I had the Bible too, but apparently somehow that didn't quite make sense. And as time went on, I started weeding that out, and I'm basically back to the Bible. There's a safety there, and our Lord is the one that made this thing happen of the church, and He put the directions in there that we have need of. And that's not saying that I've heard the saying, people say, well, you take a book and you read it and you throw out the bones, you eat the meat. I'm not sure that's a very good illustration. We can also eat bones. I mean, they're healthy for you, especially if you make them a little soft. Maybe not as desirable, but they can be eaten. So what I take from that is, when I read Anabaptist, I read early church, I want to be inspired by their reaching out to God. I want to be inspired to reach out to God myself, and also encourage others to reach out to God, and not start dropping into this dangerous zone of figuring things out other than through Christ. That doesn't mean that there's not lots of good words out there, lots of wisdom, but if you take in these other things too, if you take a book for the wrong reason, it's going to lead you astray. Even the Bible, I think, will. So the more we put other things into our mind, the more we have to get it cleaned back out, because it is a principle, I think. Anyways, so the end result of all this, I'm left back where I was by the time when people had warned me. When I first started studying, people had warned me. Well, I was asking for baptism from my old church where I grew up in, and they said that's not possible. It would have been I would have been an Anabaptist, I guess. But they said they can't do that. And so I desired baptism, but it was like 15 years later till God allowed it. And it was right at that time I had made up my mind that, I didn't get to the point. People warned me about every new experience I would like to be baptized again. And this is, I took it seriously. And maybe that's why God kept me back from baptism till I made up my mind that there is nothing other but Jesus Christ. And it wasn't so long after that decision that God allowed baptism. And so from Adam to Jesus, people were looking forward to Him. From Jesus to now, they pointed back to Jesus. I believe it's the way it belongs. It's not like the Anabaptists came up with some great idea that works. This is not their idea. They pointed back to Jesus. We need to do the same. We need to be looking that direction too. And so I give the apostles honor in the respect that they started the church, and I believe they taught also Jesus, but their teaching is dependable and accurate, more so than translations and manuscripts. But that's all we have. We have no choice unless God gives a new revelation, and we don't know what to compare it to, so we compare it to the information we have. At least that's what I do. So there's nothing ever that goes beyond or less than Jesus. He's the Lord, He's the Master, He's the one we stand before at Judgment Day, and not anything else. I believe we're going to stand there by ourselves, and the things that we have done, the things we have the things we have spoken, the things we have done is what's going to be we'll be judged by that. It says at two different places, and all over the place we find that the encouragement to seek after God, and I'm not sure. Maybe there's lots of questions. What is seeking after God and these things, but I'm not planning to go there now. But when we give our whole heart to Him, He will see us through. If we're discouraged, we can't see our way through, we don't have to. All we have to do is be willing to ride with it. Go on through with it, believing that Jesus hasn't lost sight of it, though we can't see Him, though we can't feel Him. We can safely trust that He's went through that before us, and He will bring us through if we have done like I was going to say like Saul did when he was small in his own eyes. Like we can hear. I believe there's one place it says he was right, something like he was right when he was small in his own eyes. And anyways, there's many examples other than that. May the Lord bless us, and that's a little thing I had. Feel free to share.
I just thank you for that little portion, Walter. Just what was on my mind is just to keep striving towards that righteousness. And just every day. It's a real battle is to keep that righteousness and keep that fervent love toward one another and toward a stranger. And pray we all can bring that and just to put away the works of darkness and to put on Christ. And God bless you all.